pop in here too, and we can kind of do the Q&A. We'll do like a hybrid. So let's go roundtable style. So Alan, thank you for doing that. Guys, I saw some questions pop into the chat. We'll get to those in a second. So Alan, we've talked about this. Obviously, we've executed a chunk of this plan. We have a mix with 1 Million Cups. We have a mix of investors, business people, and entrepreneurs. It feels like the Opportunity Zone program provides a bridge that maybe entrepreneurs in their pitches need, right? Because we have an idea, a service, or a product that we pitch to people. Investors are always trying to mitigate risk, right? Bob Begley's the chair of our finance committee, and he is a master at that. He's taken a company public, and he's constantly on us about mitigating risk, right? So if the logic is to de-risk an investment opportunity, from an entrepreneur's position, it feels like Opportunity Zones, being in one, having your business in one, provides some risk mitigation for an investor.
Absolutely, because you know that your investors are committed to stay with your business for 7 to 10 years. They're not going to look to get out right away. They'll be putting their money in to reap the benefits. Now, whether your business is also providing them dividends or equity, however that works out, that's in addition to, but the capital gains from what they put in, that whole amount of the dividends, everything else becomes their capital gains. And if you can push that off or eliminate it, that's a fantastic thing for an investor. In fact, the gentleman who owned this building, their office is across the street from us. They've said to us they would not invest $1 in anything that was not in an Opportunity Zone. And anybody that had any smarts would only invest in places that have Opportunity Zones.
You know, I was having this conversation yesterday with our team here internally about the importance of Opportunity Zones from the position of many of the locations. We're in the Paramore district, have been traditionally underserved and don't really have control over a lot of what happens, right? So in a lot of these areas, they become attractive to investors because of things like gentrification. They can come in, they can throw up fancy buildings, charge a ton of money for them, and people will move in, right? Especially with anything with vicinity to downtown. And I went through this experience in Minneapolis, where North Minneapolis, which was underserved, became that prime location, because when you went out your door, you could see downtown. It feels to me like if this is done right, and this is something that we work on with having our location here, is to empower the community to have a level of control over the decisions that take place in their community.
Oh, absolutely right. One of the beauties of being able to do this is there are businesses today that are around us that don't know that they're even in an Opportunity Zone, and they are struggling. And if there was investors who could provide some support for them, they would thrive. Our ability to support the community that we are literally within is phenomenal. Now you've got the universities, Valencia and UCF are just up the street. They have a whole new set of campuses for downtown up there. That is a great place to be able to offer the entrepreneurial opportunities to the students over there. And as a matter of fact, one of the graduates from Rollins is one of our entrepreneurs within the lab, and he's going to be able to participate in this Opportunity Zone place because he's putting his company right in here. So whether you've been in business for a while and you're local within the community, that's great. If you're coming from someplace else and you want an office here, as long as you can put, I think John will correct me, I think it's 70% of your operation has to be here in the Opportunity Zone. You're entitled to be able to call it your Opportunity Zone and get the investment from it. You can have offices other places in the country. Your headquarters needs to be here.
So Alan, it was an interesting thing. I was actually on a call on Friday. The Polis Institute has done they've provided a bunch of data, and I can share it with the 1 Million Cups community on Paramore, right? So they've done a bunch of that. What they've said, they've partnered with UCF, and they're offering grants to residents of Paramore up to $2,500 to do community projects. So what I said to the group is that a big part of our business is to help facilitate these things. So if members of the Paramore community want to get more information or use this as a landing pad to formulate their idea, to secure that grant money, we want to contribute to that process.
Absolutely. And by the way, one of those things, bringing in businesses that can provide services to help the community. The best example of that I know is the thing that you probably heard us talk about before called Project Lift, where they come in and they train the kids, teenagers, in job skills, how to become an air conditioning engineer or car repair, or it's amazing. They teach them things that you can't be learned in college, and they help revitalize the kids that are in those things. And Project Lift has got a couple of locations in South Florida. We are going to bring them into here. One of the buildings in the back here behind us is going to be the next Project Lift. And it'll serve the community here.
So guys, do we have any questions from the audience? Scott,
I've got one. You mentioned as businesses develop and grow inside opportunity zones, is there a possibility, because you're talking about a 10-year or longer time frame, that those zones suddenly now in the local community have a higher tax base? And is there a chance that those opportunity zone boundaries can be changed during that? And what effect does that have on businesses that exist there?
That's a great question, Scott, and I tell you the truth, I don't know the answer to that question. I wouldn't want to promote it, but I believe that the way the Jobs Act is written is those things are going to continue at least through December 2026. They can't change it until then. At that point in time, yes, we don't know.
No, it's locked into 2047.
Thank you, John. Yay.
Rupert.
So if a company sets up operations in an opportunity zone, we know that investors who invest in that company, their capital gains are deferred. But what about the company itself? What about its growth and profits and all that? How are they taxed? Is there anything related to that?
My understanding, again, I'm not an accountant, my understanding is that they will be taxed normally. However, if they take some of their income and reinvest it in something else, like that's what we're going to be doing in the lab, then you'll be protected. You'll be able to defer that into your protected capital gains investment. So,
yeah. And that's actually, Alan, speaking to our model, Rupert, and kind of to your question, is with the number of opportunity zones around the country, the lab model is duplicatable. And one of the triggers for it is that the locations are in opportunity zones, right? So if you do that, ultimately, it's like the tax code. The tax code is a series of incentives to get businesses to do what the government wants. If you follow the rules, it's basically free money.
exactly.
Right? Your money's freed up.
And we're projecting close to 200 lab replications around the country, and being in an opportunity zone, if they can follow the model that we've been successfully executing over the last few months, it's going to be great all over the country.
Yeah. Juliana.
So I was at a Rotary meeting, and one of the gentlemen stood up and said, "We need a meeting house." And I was like, "What's a meeting house?" Okay, a place to have meetings. So I'm really big on having a voice in what's happening in our community. For example, everyone knows that I'm a big advocate for children, and I always say I have 2,000 homeless children right here in my backyard, and how that's not appropriate. Well, if it's not appropriate and it's moving me, I'm obviously not the only person. So how do we come together as a community and talk about what's happening and having a voice against our government? For example, lots of money was given to Disney so they can build a road, but zero money is really being given to us, the entrepreneurs. Why are we the only weekly meeting? Like, why do we not have the support of our government? Why is it that we're the next hotbed for entrepreneurs, but yet we don't have the support that we need to have? Well, if our voices aren't coming together, we're not all in unison saying this is messed up and we don't like what we're looking at, they're never going to change what it is that they're doing. So from this location, this is my why, obviously, is I want to have a voice. You know, we need to all be speaking out and saying, government, you're supposed to be here to regulate so that we are prospering. If we look at what's happening with our children, we are failing, and that's not right. Which means we as entrepreneurs need to stand up against the oligarchs and say, no, you can't have all the business. It needs to be democratized. It needs to be so that we can be able to rise and have some success in our areas. And that's why I always tell everybody, I'm not the one who's paying the rent here at the lab. It's all of us, because all of us should be making money together, right? Because if we're not making money, our community is not growing. I want to see results. What's happening on our streets? I see the same people walking back and forth, the same homeless people. Why? We need to be talking about this as a community.
So Juliana makes a great point, and guys, we're going to jump into the questions in the chat here because we've got a nice amount of them lined up. But these are the things that Juliana and I spend time offline talking with friends and entrepreneurs about understanding things like the tax code, or when new legislation is presented or written, what it actually means, right? Things tend to be complicated on purpose to keep you from actually understanding what they mean. That's common sense. Here's the thing though, if you can get the gist of it, like opportunity zones, what you begin to see is that the government gives you the steel sign to make the move, but you actually have to do it in order to enjoy those benefits. So they need to set policy, but if there's not a consensus in a block for us to go to them and say, this is the policy you need to set for our benefit, it won't work. And so what we propose in doing this project and expanding the lab is that we can actually do that and have the government reflect actually what needs to happen.
And we were totally unknown about this until John Park came in and told us about this stuff, and all of a sudden light bulbs went off in all of our heads. Here's an opportunity that the government is providing to us. They don't even know how powerful it is. It took them till last December. It took them 2 years to come up with the regulations to be able to let us do what we are doing now. But at least it's working. We can prove that it works.
Yeah. So let's pop into the chat here. Everybody that's in the audience will be able to see these two. So let's pop them up on the screen here. And we will start at the top. Thank you guys for all your questions here. So let's see. No, I'm not eating church's chicken every day. Let's see. So thank you, though. I appreciate that. Trevor, we don't need to validate parking. It's free. No, I'm not eating church's chicken. Scott Thomas, thank you so much. Great British humor, Trevor. I agree. All right, so Scott Thomas, thank you. So new startups can share space and qualify for tax benefits without long-term commitment. I think we kind of covered that in Rupert's question. Okay.
Yes, that's true.
So if you start one in an opportunity zone and later find you need to switch to another opportunity zone around the country in another place, could that move continue the benefits?
I believe that it will. And you might, if you move to another opportunity zone, it will certainly be continued. If you keep a small headquarters here and move and open other businesses, whether they're other offices, whether they're in an opportunity zone or not, you're still going to be able to maintain your benefit of the company.
So Trevor, it's a good one. So do opportunity zones ever become non-opportunity after a period of time? We covered part of that with Scott's question.
Scott's question, yeah. We heard it from John himself that you're covered through 2047.
And be a little long in the tooth by 2047. Glad we're doing this now.
Yeah.
So the other question from Trevor, this is another good one. How do we know how long the zone has been an opportunity zone? I guess, did they start all at the same time, or was it like rolling dates?
Well, I don't think there was anything called an opportunity zone until April of 2017.
Yeah, until the tax law started, the one you said in December of 2018.
Yeah.
Started.
It started with the only regulations being you had to invest in a property, not a business. They expanded it to cover businesses in 2018 and 19. So that's it. And prior to that, there was nothing.
Yeah. So Trevor, it's a good question. The legislation, it appears, these things actually became opportunity zones in December of 2018. Is that okay? Yes.
No, in April of 2018 is when they were designated by the governor of every state.
Okay, so April of 2018, the governors of each state designated their opportunity zones.
It came into origin in December of 2017.
Gotcha. Okay. You're welcome, Trevor. That's a great question. So we want to make sure that the information is as accurate as possible, because I think ultimately what happens is if entrepreneurs study up on this, right, and they get it into their presentation, an investor who may be intrigued but not know will probably fire that question at them because they're trying to make some planning and do some back of their head math on how much benefit have I missed.
And a smart investor, a smart entrepreneur, if he introduces the concept of opportunity zones when they're talking to a potential investor, that potential investor may not have heard about it all because, very honestly, it's not so widely known. If they can look as a smarter entrepreneur, by bringing that up to their investors, more likely they're going to be able to get investment dollars.
So it feels like something that would be valuable because this information is out there, right? But a lot of it's ambiguous. You hear something from somebody, then you go read something, and it's like, oh my God, there's 500 pages of regulation around this. I don't want to do that, right? That doing like a masterclass series on this in person, streaming live, where entrepreneurs can come in, you can go through those steps and processes and maybe developing some best practices on how to put that into a presentation or talk to an investor would be helpful.
It's a great idea. Where can we find a possible mentor to help run those master classes?
Right.
John.
So guys, I'm not even going to create a poll on this. You can pop in the chat. If we created a master class or series here at the lab for entrepreneurs to understand opportunity zones and how to put those into their presentations for investors, would you like that? Like, would that be something you participated in? We think the answer is yes, but we'll let people chime in on that. That kind of leads to something else, and Rupert and I have talked about this over the last couple of years, is the investor pool in Greater Orlando. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs that are on with us and in person can relate to this, is that we live in a place where there's a ton of money locked up. It's well into the billions, right, Rupert? It's in banks, right? So 50 billion, right? And one of the challenges is that those investors, if you have a technology business or something that maybe isn't real estate, you run into the challenge of investor education. And that's been kind of a barrier for us, right? It feels to me, Alan, and John, you can comment on this too, that this presents an opportunity for something tangible for an investor to understand.
Yes.
Right? Like at least they would understand this part, right? Because for Julianna and I, we're in a unique situation where we are a minority and woman-owned business in an opportunity zone doing technology, right? And now we have physical spaces and the lab model. So I think every advantage kind of comes into play. So even if you have those without an opportunity zone, it's still like, well, I don't really invest in technology, or I don't get that. When we bring in an opportunity zone, do we put ourselves in a position now where it's something tangible to say, there's real estate in an opportunity zone, you're going to get tax benefit, right, to mitigate your risk. Are we in a position now, and I guess that kind of goes back to the masterclass question, where for investors who maybe traditionally real estate don't understand those things, this gives them a step forward to engage?
Oh, absolutely. And one of the nice things that I've had from my own experience with investors, people that are in the commercial real estate business, not residential, but commercial real estate business, know that their experience is it takes 2, 3, 4 years to be able to get a commercial real estate property up and going. For them to look at an entrepreneurial business that is also going to take 2, 3, 4 years to get going, they're much more relatable to that. And if they've had capital gains from their commercial real estate and they can put into this, it's falls within their same bellwether. It's wonderful opportunity for them.
Alan and John too, you can chime in on this too. Now that this is up and active, right? So now we're looking at 18 months, right? Since December 2018, basically. Like we've had some time here. What is the temperature right now? Like what's happening around the country with opportunity zones at this point? Like what are we hearing?
Well, most people have never heard of an opportunity zone. So other than your high net worth individuals that have the high accounting and legal that can guide them, most people are not involved with it.
Exactly. Yep.
So it's wide open. I think they estimate there's like something like $6 trillion of unrealized capital gains. So for people in the stock market that want to sell and get out with the ups and downs, the opportunity zone is a perfect conduit for them. So,
and one of the nice things about our lab, we are not here at the lab, we are not an incubator where people come and rent space and have a desk or a room. We purposely chose not to do that. We are an accelerator. We can deal with anybody, as many people as want to come in and utilize our spaces for an hour meeting or for a day meeting, whatever. They can run their events. We can have many, many more people be helped by what we're doing.
Our goal really is to be able to work with the organizations who want to work on projects together.
Yeah.
How do we support them in making sure that these projects are lifted off the ground correctly,
Yes.
to the maximum that it can be?
Yeah. We have a staff of mentors, experienced marketeers, business people, financial people, salespeople, marketing people. We have a draft of people that can really provide advice and guidance to you here. Welcome to the lab.
Yeah, it's unique in that sense. I think what Julianna said is really important, guys. Whenever you're in a scenario like this, and I have a kind of a diverse mix of experience. Most people know my media background. I ran a nonprofit for 3 years. And so for me, I came in with a certain level of understanding. If you come in as an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter what you do, but if you come into an opportunity zone and you make the commitment to take your expertise and share it with the community, the opportunity zone you're in, the thing that I can almost guarantee you is that government agencies or groups are going to respond to that. So here's the challenge, right? People think, oh, COVID, business is down, there isn't really any money out there. It's literally like a bank vault that's overflowing from city, county, state municipalities where they need to deploy capital to help to grow communities and to educate people, right? This again goes back to what the government wants done. That money is there, but the story and what you're doing, it all has to make sense.
Yes.
Well, the number one challenge that we're having as a community at large is that these companies, these organizations, they don't want to work together. You know, there's a lot of ego that's going on. And if we can, as an artificial intelligence firm, look at these organizations and say, if we pair you guys up, you're going to be able to do better. You know, for example, we had our sheriff's department that wanted to pull off a program. And when the study was done on the program that they wanted to do, what came back was sheriff's department, you really need to also work with the police department. So of course that program never got off the ground because the sheriff's department wanted nothing to do with the police department. That's a problem, okay? It's a problem that we need to address because there's a lot of people out there saying that they're doing something as an organization and they're not doing anything. And those people need to be called out, right? And the people who are really trying to do something and have the muscle to be able to do it, but they need that extra support or they need to be linked with another organization. They need to be able to figure out how to find those people. We want to be the resource so that they can find each other.
Right. And that's important, guys. I mean, you know, we've talked in the past about our theory of hubonomics and how there are endless hubs and spokes if you have the right connections. And that's something we've done with 1 Million Cups and we continue to try to do because ultimately everyone on the call and everyone here knows us pretty well. You know, we're transparent in our desire to help people in any way we can because ultimately it works out for the benefit of everybody.
Well, if you look at what we've been doing with the lab, we have a number of companies. You know, we talk about the lab, but we're growing it with like 4 other companies that are helping us grow this one particular company. Like, I couldn't do it without these 4 other companies. And yesterday we talked to another company and said, he's a musician, hey, do you want to bring your stuff in so you can help us do X, Y, and Z? And yes, we're looking for other organizations that would like to get involved because for the lab, it's not just, you know, you and I as one company, it's multiple companies coming together because there's so much that needs to be done within our community that we need a diverse mix of companies doing it.
Certainly. Guys, if you have any questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat here before we wrap up. Alan, I'll ask you the question, even though this is an education module that we ask everyone, what can we as a community do to help you to spread the word?
Well, that's a very good question. I think that number one is to understand that the opportunity exists. If you're an entrepreneur with a business and you're looking to get your business off the ground, consider the opportunity zones. Give us a call. We can help give you some guidance. And in fact, one of our clients who, because of the COVID-19 thing, the factory that was going to make their products in China, we can't reach them. So we're talking to building a plastic injection molding here in Central Florida, be able to do that and put their business here into an opportunity zone. Everything that happens always has a thorn and a rose. We're looking for the roses that are growing right now in Central Florida.
So Chuck, the owner of the building, said that he was thinking about building out a couple of manufacturing companies because of the fact that there isn't, you know, we're closed off because of China and whatnot.
Yep.
So.
And we've got space and buildings here right in this opportunity zone where we are.
All right. So guys, I think we're good. Let's give Alan Shafer a big round of applause to help us out. Thank you to John Park as well. John, this is, you know, this opportunity being here is so important to everything that's going on, and we're going to get to the next slide here. So guys, we appreciate everyone joining us here and at home. Our next 1 Million Cups is next week. Tell your friends, bring them along. We can get a bunch of people in here if you want to come in person. More information, 1millioncups.com/Orlando.
Yeah,
Any other announcements? Anything we need to hit before we go?
appreciate everybody, miss
Think we're
everybody,
good.
love
Yeah,
everybody.
by the way, just have you know, we can fill about 100 people in this space if we need to, so don't worry about coming in.
So guys, we appreciate everyone. Thank you so much for attending. We'll see you guys next week. If you need help or have questions, let us know. Thanks for attending 1 Million Cups Orlando.
I have a question and I didn't want to be on screen.